going on, jerk faces? It's your boy Andy, and you're watching Nocturnal Transmissions, brought to you by the Circle of Jerks podcast. It's a conversation you could be having during the day, but having at night. Yes, we're back, we're live, and we got a fun show for you in store, as always. Co-hosting this with me is the homeboy Rob.
What's going on, everybody?
Yes, well, usually I, start out the show, asking, how your weekend is or whatever, but, we kind of spent some of the weekend, sort of. I mean, well, it's not really, because it was a Monday, but...
well, it was my weekend.
Yeah, well, so we'll count it. We'll count it as a weekend. Yes, but me and Robert and a friend of the podcast, Eric Nam, went and watched the new movie Dr. Sleep together in real life.
In real life, all three of us together was pretty amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, so just so you know, like, we're not just we're not just torsos in a box or or just a bunch of guys sitting around a dining table.
Exactly.
Yeah, in real life. Oh, we should have documented it.
Oh, that we didn't even think about that.
I know, hindsight. Hindsight's 2020.
Yeah, it's not like Mystery Science Theater 3000 where we're trapped in like the satellite of love.
Right.
It's just localized entirely within my apartment.
Exactly. But I think we all. I mean, not to ruin anything, but we all came out of it, really enjoying the movie. We are definitely gonna talk about it on the main podcast. So be sure to look out for that episode.
Yeah, but we do suggest go watch it. Watch The Shining beforehand, but go watch Dr. Sleep. It's really good.
Yes. Especially for those who haven't watched it, who haven't watched The Shining in a long time. I wasn't able to watch The Shining beforehand before watching Dr. Sleep, but I think it definitely would have helped.
Well, yeah, and see, I was the one of the three of us that had done that. I did my homework,
right.
And so it was kind of like, being able to see some of the callbacks and all that. So it was, I highly recommend doing that beforehand.
Yeah, I mean, definitely, highly recommend this movie. I mean, even if you aren't necessarily, a Shining fan, or at the least you haven't seen The Shining, I think you could still enjoy this movie on its own, because I think one of the things that we agreed on was that this movie could be its own thing.
Yeah, but it's a movie that I think stands by on its own. It's not like with the MCU where it kind of relies on solely on like past material and you having seen it all. And if you haven't seen it, it's kind of like you're missing a piece.
Right. It's not like a Marvel film where you could watch, you could like miss a few movies but then still get the overall story of the big team ups like the Avengers. But this movie definitely it won't hinder your enjoyment of the movie if you haven't seen The Shining.
Yeah, I think the only thing it does, I think it would enhance it a little bit.
Right, enhancement. That's a great way of putting it.
It would enhance your experience, but it wouldn't hinder you from not watching The Shining.
Absolutely.
And I'm all about enhancement, baby.
Absolutely. So yes, be on the lookout for that main podcast episode where we do talk about it in full with Eric. So and then and also don't forget, and then because we definitely want Eric being a fellow cinephile, we want to get his opinion too. So when we also talk about, because I know on this show we did we did start the review on Parasite, but we stopped at like the midpoint But if Eric is able to watch Parasite in time of when we do the Doctor Sleep episode, we might have a two for free there.
Yeah. We will actually do a full review on Parasite soon, though.
Yeah.
At some point, like just
Mhm.
that is going to happen.
Right. I mean, it'd be great if Eric is able to watch it, and then we're able to all three of us review it. But if he doesn't, then maybe we might bring it back to Nocturnal Transmissions and do the other half here.
Yeah.
So yeah, so a lot of things to look forward to is what we're saying.
Oh yeah. Yeah, if you're a cinephile like us. Oh, and I wanted to bring this up for not only for you, Andy, but for our fans as well. And actually, I forgot to mention it yesterday. There's a really cool app for people who are interested in movies called LetterBoxD, and this app is pretty cool because you can. It's a bunch of like fans that are talking about like movies that they like or dislike. They'll, some of them will have their own like short reviews that they write for them,
Mm-hmm.
or movies that they suggest, and you can go in and add like, what are your favorite films? Like, what films are you watching right now? Did you like it? Did you not like it? And you can post it through your profile, share it with others, and it's like, I've always wanted to see this film, and a lot of people are saying they liked it. Let's see what some of their reviews are about. Or it's like, oh yeah, that's right, I forgot that so and so was in this movie, and it's just kind of a cool way to connect with other fellow moviegoers.
Mm-hmm.
And I think maybe it's something we can utilize with all the reviews that we're doing.
Right.
Kind of talk about films in another way.
Right, and just this isn't sponsored. This isn't sponsored by them. I mean, although Letterboxd, if you're aware of us,
If you want to,
yeah, if you want us to cut a check for us, so we could talk nice about you. We're open. So,
no, I'm just suggesting this app just because I think it's really cool.
mm-hmm.
Yeah, just because I've been talking to a lot of people through Twitter about movies,
Mm-hmm.
and this was suggested to me. So, and like some of my fellow Twitter followers are on this thing talking about films.
Yeah, maybe we can start a Circle of Jerks account on there.
Yeah, I think that might be a good idea.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and also we'll also put a link in the description later.
Yeah, I think
if you want to go check it out.
And then I'll kind of scour all of the through all our movie reviews, and maybe add like what we watch, maybe like what we're gonna be watching possibly, and so you guys can follow along with us on that, and maybe give your own thoughts and another way to interact with us.
Yes, exactly. So yeah, a lot of cool stuff coming your way. You lucky sons of bitches.
I know. God damn it! What links we won't go to, Andy?
I know, right? Although even though it might our time might be coming to an end here on YouTube, given the new restrictions or terms of service that might be put into effect come December 1st.
Yeah, that's kind of scary.
Yeah, I mean, I think one of it is like any channel that's not commercially viable will be just summarily shut down.
Ugh, that's
So if we're not making money for YouTube, then it's gonna be shut down. And other than a few of the videos that they not dinged us, but they they gave the copyright claim to like certain like music a certain music publisher.
Yeah.
That except for like those videos, there's no ads running on our stuff. So So yeah, like if our channel might be shut down.
Well, we'll find out December 1st, I suppose.
Yeah. Well, we'll figure something else out. Because we also have like, I mean, I should have done a better job, but we do still have the BitChute account that I set up a while back. So if anything, we just might migrate over there and set up shop there.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah.
Oh, well, I think it's the thing is it's going to be affecting quite a few people, because I know like a lot of um, people I follow and talk to on Twitter who have kind of small channels like ours too. Like they're like, what am I going to do? Like this is I mean they're not. Some of them are making money off of it, like not a whole lot, but it's still like this is what I do. Like what am
Right. Yeah.
what
That's
are we
like
gonna?
it's their main source of income, and I think in that case, in that instance, we're lucky because we're doing this for fun. We're doing this, um, simply as a means of kind of getting our own like point of views out there, and maybe people like maybe like-minded people will find us, and they might then start to become fans or become our audience. But this right now, we're not making any money off of this whatsoever. This is purely just like we're doing this because it's still fun to do. And I mean, I'm not saying that we don't want to make money, doing this, but I think if this was taken away from us, it wouldn't be the end of the world. Is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, and we'll find. I think we're having fun with it. We'll find another way to put out content. Still have
right. I mean, yeah, because we still have BitChute and we can still do that. So, I mean, we might not be able to do like this show live, as this current iteration, but we could still kind of do like the pre-tape style and still put it out. So don't forget to like and subscribe. And leave us a comment because it does help with the algorithm. I don't know how much longer, but
well, we'll find out.
Yeah, we'll find out coming in December. All right.
Speaking of crazy, stuff that's going around the internet and on television, and just weird propaganda shit like what's going on with YouTube. You wanted to talk about the recent commercial by Sprite.
Yes. Right. I mean, for those of you who don't know, Sprite recently put out an ad, pandering to a very small portion of society, and that's not my opinion. That's just fact. And honestly, it was very subversive. Because this particular ad panders to the alphabet community, and it's not necessarily there's nothing necessarily wrong like to pander, but just the usually when you have an ad for a product or a service, you would typically highlight that product or service within the ad itself. But that doesn't happen until like the very end of the ad. So for a minute and a half, it's more or less them Sprite is more or less lecturing to its prospective customers or consumers. Um,
From like a couple months ago, like with the kind of talking about how their clientele that buys their products is awful.
Remember, you're talking about Gillette.
Yeah. Like it kind of had that like kind of flavor to it a little bit, where it's just like, what, you don't like this bigot? It's that's kind of the vibe I get from that Sprite commercial.
Right. At least
Because
some of the pushback, that Sprite itself or some of like the defenders of the particular ad, are voicing. It's like, oh, it's like you're just, you're just a bigot. It's like, yeah, I'm a bigot that's no longer drinking Sprite.
well, I mean, now I don't drink Sprite a lot. But it's most famously it's they are a huge sponsor of the NBA, and
Right.
a lot of times we're seeing the commercials. We get guys like LeBron James, like a lot of these top basketball stars. I think like Kobe Bryant was in some. You had all sorts of guys from the NBA.
And like Drake was a former spokesperson.
Yeah, Drake was in there. And honestly, they were kind of fun. It was they were nice, like fun commercials, and that was kind of like where Sprite's niche. And I don't know if going this direction like is going to help them any, because the whole commercial is, like I said, what we were saying is like there's no Sprite to be seen anywhere in the commercial. It's not like, oh yeah, Sprite's awesome. Hey, my little Sprite, have a Sprite. It's like, it's not.
Right.
There's
we were noting, before the show started that, Sprite pandering to, the alphabet community, where Sprite was or is considered a slur against it.
Yeah.
The irony there is just too delicious. It's too delicious.
But the fact that it's like I said, it's nowhere within the commercial, and until like the very, I was like, are we watching like a Glad commercial, some sort of alphabet community project, something or other? Which that's fine if they want to like run commercials like that, but this is like Sprite. What the fuck does any of this have to do with Sprite? Nothing. It was just
right. Yeah, like what? Yeah, what does a lemon lime soda have to do with being, of the alphabet community persuasion?
Like I said, you can make like if you want to make commercials like and cater towards things that I don't like, that's fine. But it's like at least either make them funny in some sort of way, or like actually showcase some sort of product that it's representing. Don't just like all of a sudden have this virtue signaling garbage and then throw up a logo at the end. It's like, that's our commercial. It's like, whoa, how is that going to sell your product?
Right. Right. I know. It's like what, and I mean, not to be doing them any favors, but okay, just indulge me for a little bit. Here's an idea for an ad that might that's pandered, but that still advertises the drink. Okay, say that you have this young man, and he's with he's with his friends, and he's trying to figure out makeup, right? And they both be happening to be drinking Sprite.
Right.
And then it's kind of secret. The parents don't know yet, and then the mom walks in, finds her son putting on eyeshadow or whatever, and it gets really awkward. And then the friend leaves, and then and then the mom and the son's worried and looking down, like thinking about possibly what the mom might be saying. And then the mom just grabs the eyeshadow brush, is like no, you're making yourself look like a prostitute, and then like helps teaches him how to put makeup on.
What also would have worked in this?
And then and then
why I'm helping it out with this commercial thing is like, you have like, let's say you have the Sprite somewhere like located near the characters, and then like the wig that's used, or eyeshadow, whatever the fuck that they're using. Like, make it like this Sprite like label like
Oh yeah,
colors. So
like the
that,
lemon and the
that
lime, yellow and green, like as the wig.
yeah, well, that kind of the green and silver logo that they have.
Yeah.
You're using those type of colors throughout the theme of the commercial. It's like that way, at least you're kind of drawing back to the product itself, along with like you don't have to necessarily talk about like having the Sprite there. Like I don't need to talk about the Sprite, but if you have the colors there and like kind of the product somewhere within the
Right. Well, yeah.
foreground.
It doesn't have to they don't have to necessarily put it on, but like it could be like the wig, like the yellow and green wig could be like on a mannequin stand in the back. It's like, oh, I was like, it took me a really long time, and then like the mom could be like, oh, it took me a really long time to, master makeup too, and then and it could end like right then and there, But at least then like the product is like at least there in the beginning, right? And then you're just like saying, oh, Sprite is a proud, whatever, supporter of alphabet people, blah 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 blah. End commercial.
That would have been a better. See, that would have been a better commercial, and I might not. That's like, but oh god, it's awful. It's just pandering nonsense that doesn't even like sell their own product. And I guarantee that none of those people are gonna buy Sprite just because
I
of
know
that commercial.
I know. It's like anything. It's like when I mean, going back to the the Gillette thing, and after like that commercial came out, it was basically saying, oh, all men are bad, all men are racist, or I mean, not all. I mean, all men are sexist, and toxic masculinity and all that kind of stuff. They took a hit. They did take a hit, and it was just you could say that it's not that big a deal, but they took an eight. I think was it million or billion?
I don't think it was billion, but I know it was definitely in the millions. They took a huge hit.
Right, like it was like 8 or maybe even 80 million like hit. Like I think like either like a devaluation or something that's not necessarily revenue based, but just like kind of like what basically what the company's worth.
Their stock price went way down.
Probably something associated with that. But yeah, they took it that and they might downplay it and be like, oh, it's really not that much, but it's like if you think about it, like $80 million. That's a lot of fucking money.
That wasn't insignificant. It's like, oh, maybe we shouldn't tell our the people that buy the majority of the people that buy our product that they're all terrible, evil people. Maybe we should have done that.
Yeah.
I mean, yes, there are Gillette does make razors for women, which are actually kind of a little bit of a side note. They're actually better razors than some of the guy ones.
Mm-hmm.
And they're a little bit. The metal's a little bit sharper because from what I understand, like the hair on like women's legs can be a little bit like more dense and harder to shave.
Mm-hmm.
So they require sharper blades. So if you're looking for a really close shave, don't feel bad buying the women's razors. They're actually a little bit better, a little bit sharper. So I mean, it's not completely like insignificant. They do have a female clientele too, but like it's at a fraction of the amount of men that buy Gillette products.
Right.
And it's and the fact that you're telling 80% of your clientele that they're garbage, I wouldn't buy their product again.
Right. I mean, and think of it the other way around, where they made like a Lady Gillette ad saying like, women, stop nagging your husbands, or stop being such a such a hen to and stop pecking your husbands, or make your do something nice for your husband every once in a while, make him a sandwich, and stop talking so much. Imagine if they made a commercial like that. Imagine that they made a commercial like that. The outrage would split the planet in half.
Oh god, that would that company I think would not. I
Yeah,
don't think
no,
it would handle it.
that company would be scorched earth. Not, when
Salted earth.
nothing
Yeah.
would be left of nothing would be left of Gillette. If like Lady Gillette made a commercial like that, where it's like, wives, you should really stop nagging your husband so much about, X, Y, or Z, and maybe every once in a while, make him a sandwich and don't talk so much, while the game is on. Never gonna happen. Never gonna happen. But for some reason, it's okay to bash on that. And but to bring it back to the Sprite commercial, I mean, we're not idiots. I understand that this commercial was, you know, uh, put out for the Argentinian market, but it's on the web. It's out there for everyone to see. So it's not just Argentina.
But it's
That's
been.
seeing this,
I mean,
and Argentina being within Latin America, they do have a more religious base, but
there's a stronger Catholic representation down in South America. So it's like they're trying to, kind of break those barriers, I guess.
right. But again, this thing was online. Not just people. It would be one thing if this was like pre-internet, and it was just aired on Argentinian TV. But the interesting thing though is at the end, it's like the whole pride is watching your child be who they are. That was in English.
Yeah.
And I mean, last time I checked, the predominant language in Argentina was Spanish.
As far as I'm aware, yeah.
Yeah. So who is this ad really for? I mean, if it was in Spanish, that'd be a completely different thing. I'd be like, okay, they're trying to target the Spanish speaking demographic, but.
Well, remember, we're just a community of nations. There's no such thing as like borders or countries anymore, Andy. Remember?
Of course, but they think like anything English or American is the devil. So I don't know why you're using the language of the devil. I'm just using their logic. That's the funny thing. I'm just using their logic.
The funny thing is though, like, because they don't because yes, Spanish comes from Spain. Spain is a European country. Spain has a lot of white people too that just happen to speak a different language.
Right.
Yeah, and they no one talks about that because they have complete and those surveys and stuff that they the censuses and stuff like that they take that and all the government documents, they separate that part out in
of course they do.
So it's like other white, like Spanish white or whatever that.
Like Hispanic white or Hispanic non-white.
Yeah.
Ah, madre de Dios. See what I did there?
Not only is it a garbage commercial that didn't even sell the product at all, and then number two, which to me, I think that's the most one of the most egregious points of them all. It's like you're not even selling your product. Like there's no color, no colors of your product, no. The only time you see the symbol of the product is at like the last second.
Right.
It's that doesn't sell your product because I already tuned out like halfway through, and then it's just like it's just pandering nonsense. It's not a commercial. It's just it's
right. Because at first it was just like, oh, just tolerate us, just like, oh, just tolerate it. You don't have to accept it. It's like, okay, cool, all right, I tolerate it, and back in the day, tolerance used to mean, allowing someone to be wrong, not that everyone was right.
Right, or
but then all of a sudden now it's you have to accept me, whole cloth, full stop.
Yeah, well, it's not just tolerance and acceptance. It's celebrate. If you're not celebrating it, then you're
Right.
cast off into the exterior
Yeah.
darkness. And I
Hmm.
refuse to celebrate stuff that I don't agree with.
Word.
So I'll probably be killed or strung up and quartered at some point in my lifetime.
Yep. So it's 7 up for me from now on.
Or Sierra Mist.
I know it's I shared with you this at the beginning, but yeah, when I first had like Sierra Mist, especially when they changed it to like natural like sweeteners or whatever, it tasted like garbage. I spit it out the first time I had it.
Yeah.
And but all of a sudden it's like it tastes like the best thing in the whole world to me.
Sprite, unfortunately, is the superior clear soda at the moment.
Right?
But
I know it's that's what pisses me off the most because I really like Sprite. Out of the lemon lime sodas, the clear lemon lime sodas, that was my favorite.
7 Up is like 7 Up is a good mix. If you mix it with like something, like
Mm-hmm.
as far like if you mix it with like with an alcohol, or if you like kind of insert it in with like your Jello, like
Mm-hmm.
that's pretty good. But
Mm-hmm.
other than that, 7 Up is not that good.
Yeah, I mean, I think after Sprite, out of like the citrus category, I'd have to go with Squirt.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. I might be drinking
Yeah,
a lot more.
yeah, more
There we go.
Squirt,
There. All right.
more
So I guess
Squirt
we're
for
gonna be.
me.
Is that gonna be like the second official drink of the unofficial official drink of this Circle of Cheers
Right?
podcast,
Yeah, it might be.
along with Sam Adams Boston Lager and. All right. Well,
Yeah, it might.
shall we
Yeah.
get into our movie review?
Absolutely, yes. Right. Going in line with the theme for this month, which is heist. We watched and we're going to review Training Day. Uh, believe it or not, this movie came out in 2001.
It looks really so. It looks really good.
Yeah, absolutely. It's this movie is it's like a fine wine or a good or a good bourbon, just aged
I
perfectly.
like it, and the other thing is like because there's a lot of movies from that time frame, the early 2000s.
Hmm.
It's like you can kind of tell. Oh,
Yeah,
this
you
is
could
an early
tell that it was made
like
in the early.
if I like one of my examples of this like Mission Impossible 2. That is
Oh
clearly
yeah.
a movie from at that time. Like
Yeah.
it's just
Oh yeah.
it sucks. The movie sucks,
Hmm.
and it just did not age well at all.
Oh yeah.
It's so awful. But
Absolutely.
I was like, but looking at Training Day, it's like, damn, dude, this movie like is 2001. This movie, I see why this was so highly regarded. Like it looks good. It's still good. 2019. I mean, in the last week, I think I watched this movie like 3 or 4 times just to just to kind of make sure I wasn't missing anything, and it was
Hmm.
such a good film. And it's
Right.
not too long either. It's only about like 2 hour, hour and a half, 2 hours.
It's 2 hours.
Yeah, so it's not really like too long of a film. It's very like boom, like stuff's happening really quick.
Right. Yeah, I mean, except for like maybe like technology or fashion, like you would think this movie was made this year.
Yeah,
All right, quick synopsis of this movie. A police drama about a veteran police officer who escorts a rookie on his first day with the LAPD's tough inner-city narcotics unit. Training Day is a blistering action drama that asks the audience to decide what is necessary, what is heroic, and what crosses the line in the harrowing gray zone of fighting urban crime. Does law-abiding law enforcement come at the expense of justice and public safety? If so, do we demand safe streets at any cost?
yeah. It was. This was one of those. yes, there was a heist in this film, but man, it really messes with your mind. And we got a fairly star-studded cast. We have Ethan Hawke as Officer. Was it James Hoyt or was
It was Hoyt.
Yeah, Hoyt was his last name.
Jake Hoyt. Jake Hoyt.
Jay Hoyt, and then you have Detective Alonzo Harris, which was played by wonderfully by Denzel Washington. You have who else is in here? You had Snoop Dogg as Blue. Dr. Dre was in it. Terry Crews. I'm trying to think of who else was in here.
Well, Terry Crews, at that time he wasn't big enough to have a speaking role, but he does play, kind of like the neighborhood hoodlum.
Yeah, he was the guy that was flipping pigeons.
Yeah.
But yeah, he.
But then like Tom Bergeron in it. Scott Glenn. You had
Chris Curtis.
Yeah, Cliff Curtis. Yes. Ava Mendes in in the role that kept her in acting as the stories go.
Yeah.
Because before Training Day, she was about to, she had a few bad parts, or or at least parts or parts in movies that weren't received very well. And she was just about to give up on acting until she landed her role in Training Day, even though it was a small part. It was what she needed. She needed to revitalize herself and keep going and acting.
So yeah, pretty star-studded cast. Was that you had one of the Trace was it the Los Treses or whatever, that gang head at the end of the film, the guy with a lot of the tattoos that
for you Breaking Bad fans, you recognize a sniper played by Raymond Cruz.
Yes, Raymond Cruz. I can't think of his name.
I'm sorry, I forgot what his character on Breaking Bad was.
Yeah, he's been in Breaking Bad, The Closer. He was also in. He's been in some other things too.
Mm-hmm. No, he's had a long career as kind of a either character actor or background actor. Usually playing the an underworld figure.
Yeah, so he's a really good actor too. So it's a pretty star-studded cast.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So how do we want to do we want to talk about certain is kind of going through it from start to beginning? Do you want to talk about certain scenes? How do we want to approach this? Because there's a lot to talk about with Training Day.
Right. I think I don't necessarily want to do a play-by-play of each. Why don't we just talk about the scenes that we like the most?
Okay. I think because there's a lot of powerful scenes, and one of the first ones being where Hoyt gets his introduction to Alonzo, and you actually brought up this point yesterday when we were hanging out that I thought was kind of interesting. Is you likened Alonzo to essentially a cult leader in a lot of ways, where he is always kind of shifting the goalposts, and he'll blow up at certain instances of failure to yield to his authority or command, yet also give affirmation, and it's messing with Hoyt's mind. And the scene where he meets up at the at the diner, and it's like talking about like he's trying to read his newspaper, and Hoyt is nervous obviously because he wants to kind of like talk about this assignment that he's
All right, he wants to make a good impression, with his new superior. But he's like, but Alonzo, Denzel's character, just kind of like expresses like annoyance at that, he's like, oh, can I read my paper? It's like, yeah, and it's like, for some reason he's like, he's like the new kid. He's the new kid, trying to make a good impression at his new school, but it just ends up irking Alonzo, and because throughout the movie, you think like he's everything like becomes like a test to him, so or Alonzo uses the veil of tests to basically condition Hoyt to do or go along with everything he says.
Right, and then you have him, kind of, once after the introduction, he kind of gives him that affirmation, kind of like lets him in a little bit as to like it's into the world of being a narcotics officer. And it's like insane. It's like you forget all that stuff that you learned at the academy. That shit'll get you killed out here. And telling him like to kind of get used to the streets and
wise him up, as it were.
Yeah, and he takes him on this drug stop. He's like one of his what he says is one of his informants, or it could we don't even know if that's true. And they end up stealing, kind of essentially taking the drugs off of these guys. And then all of a sudden he talks about the story like, now a good narcotics officer should know and love narcotics.
Right.
And hell, a really good narcotics officer has narcotics in his blood. And it's like, what are you gonna smoke that? It's like, no, you are. And it's like, no, dude, I'm a cop. Like, I'm not gonna do that. Like, and he's like, and eventually it kind of that blow up again. It's like he points a gun at his head. It's like, boom, you're dead.
Yeah, that's your life.
If I was a drug dealer, you'd be dead right now. And he's like, get the fuck out of my car, get out of my unit, like go get some pussy desk job or something like that. And he's like, but Hoyt at the beginning, he's like, I'll do whatever you want to do. And he's like, fine, I'll do it. And it's throughout the whole film, it's just constant back and forth of him kind of like really screwing with Hoyt in a lot of ways. A really powerful scene was the first time that we meet Alonzo's friend Roger, and that scene, like, because he's already ingested those drugs, and it's like he's really like messed up. But the conversation, like he's trying to, Alonzo takes him into his world, and it's like, hey, is this rookie gonna make it?
Right. So he he takes Roger. Alonzo takes Roger to like kind of suss out Hoyt, and Roger makes like the interesting observation of like, oh man, this kid's just like you at that age, or when you first started, kind of indicating that we kind of see like this kind of hard-nosed, grizzled, veteran narcotics officer, but he started off just like this optimistic new recruit.
Right, and
which is like the first kind of look behind the veil, as it were, to the character of Alonzo Harris.
The other thing that and I don't, maybe this was a throwaway line or something like that, or showing just how smart that Roger was, when he asks like, hey, what's your name? And he's like, Hoyt. Where'd you grow up? North Hollywood. Strong safety, North Hollywood High. It's like, yeah, how do you know that? It's like, and like even Alonzo's like, yeah, how the fuck did you know that? It's like, he's like, I know all the good players. And I was like, what? Why that line? Because it's like that. It seems like such a throwaway line, but I'm thinking it's like, how did Roger know all that? Like, and it makes me wonder, like, is he like scouting potential like narcotics officers, or like or through the drug business, he knows certain people.
Or it could be that Roger, did some illegal sports betting, even like high school football, and and if Jake was as good as we're meant to believe, then of course, then Roger would have known about him.
I didn't even think of that aspect. Yeah, maybe that's what it was. Yeah, he was into like some sort of like gambling stuff too.
Mm-hmm.
And from what we understand, obviously, like Roger is no longer a narcotics officer, and as far as
because I mean, I don't know if you addressed it before, but there are allusions to why we think he's a former narcotics officer later, and that happened like toward the end of the movie.
Right, and yeah, but like he gets a strange phone call, like it's like, oh man, I can't help you out, brother. You're on your own. It's like don't ever call me. So it's like it's almost like he later on we find out that he at least at some point was he went from narcotics officer to dealer, and is supposedly like semi-retired or retired and trying to get out to the Philippines. But yeah, so like that was the one scene that was really powerful. The dialogue between them. There's a constant line that's used by Alonzo throughout the film, like you want to go home or you want to go to jail. That's always the constant like line that he throws out there, and always the talk of where do you want to be a wolf or do you want to be a sheep? It's like we're guys that are out here to catch the big fish, the big whales. None of this middling fish bullshit. We're out here for whales, and the only way to catch to catch wolves is to be a wolf yourself. So are you a wolf or are you a sheep? It's this constant like, but it is this very like cult like way that he goes about in talking with Hoyt, and how he.
That's funny. It wasn't until right now. It's like, man, that's a lot of mixed metaphors.
Right.
We bring in the big, we bring in the whales. We don't, we don't care about the little guppies. And then like, say, oh yeah, to catch a wolf, you have to be a wolf. Are you a wolf or a sheep? So it's a lot of. I'm just realizing there's a lot of mixed metaphors in this movie.
Right. These are all the things that that Alonzo talks about throughout the film, and it's a constant.
Right, but it's just but it's like, but it could just be like kind of the mind games that he's playing with Jake. To constantly like put him, keep him on edge, and then also slowly conditioning him to, just go with everything that he says. Like even when he, I think I might be getting I might be jumping ahead with this. For me, I think one of my favorite scenes is, when they're when they're making when after they do the heist basically. And it's after everything, and then Alonzo has like that kind of heart to heart with Jake. That's probably one of my favorite scenes. Because you think what was that?
One in the car after the heist.
Yeah, after the heist. Because it feels like it's like the one time that Alonzo's being real with him.
Right.
I mean,
Yeah.
yeah. But I think if you're a little bit more discerning, I think it might also be just another kind of manipulation tactic.
Yeah, and I think it kind of is because before Hoyt gets in the car, he's seen Alonzo's talking to somebody, and it's like talking about like make sure the bathtub's cleaned out and stuff, um, and we obviously at the time we don't know what that means until it pays off a little bit later, and so that whole thing could have just been another way for Alonzo to kind of draw him in and let his guard down.
Exactly.
Because Hoyt after the whole thing was on edge, like on edge where I gotta be, it's but yeah, so I think it was just Alonzo saw that, because he also like keeps talking about how Hoyt's like he's got the magic eye. He's whether maybe that wasn't bullshit. Like he saw that Hoyt was actually a pretty smart guy, and that he can handle himself, and like it's when he's pushed to the razor's edge, he's very calculating, just like Alonzo is. So, but he's still kind of fresh. So he's trying to kind of relax him and say, hey, it's like so that whole conversation was a way to kind of get him back off of his guard to like where he could be, where Alonzo could be more in control of the situation.
Right.
What was the thing? The other thing I was wondering too, that and I couldn't get a read of what it said, but he on the freeway scene between him and between Alonzo and Hoyt, he shows him his tattoo, and it's like, you want to get your ink, or do you want to go help him out? Showing some highway patrolman helping change a flat tire, and I couldn't read what the tattoo said. I don't know if you were able to catch a glimpse of what
I missed it too.
And I couldn't find it, anybody saying what was actually on the tattoo itself. It was like kind of but I assumed it was whatever the symbol was for Alonzo's unit. So I wasn't sure if there was any sort of significance to what the tattoo, what was said on the tattoo, or like what there was. But to be honest, like every scene that Denzel was in, like, which was he was just the dialogue, the way that he spoke, the way that he did things, it was brilliant dialogue. And it wasn't just Jake Hoyt being manipulated with. I felt like I was being manipulated with the entire film. Like Denzel was, Alonzo Harris was messing with my mind as I'm watching this movie, because the stuff that he's saying makes sense. Being in the, being in the military, like, there is certain, basic training that we go through, and there's certain things that we, learn to do things, the quote unquote the right way. But as you get into an actual command, sometimes those things don't work. It's kind of like you kind of have to chuck it out the door and face reality, and sometimes the reality is much murkier and dirty than you'd like it to be. And so I was like, yeah, it kind of makes sense that he's kind of telling Hoyt how it is. But the whole time, like, yeah, it's like yeah, that makes sense. But then, like, man, you're really like blurring that line between being a policeman and being kind of a one of the gangsters, one of the drug dealers that are out there. And he must have been like with Alonzo must have had like such an iron fist control of those neighborhoods, because even like that area where he was at with his mistress, they're like, man, I hate that guy. Like, it's like I'm tired of his shit.
Right.
And it's like, but they couldn't do anything about it.
So it's right. So it's not that that people around him respect him. It's that they fear him.
Yeah, it's more.
And so it's like they only have and the people around him, or the people that he can manipulate only have he only has their loyalty up until a certain point.
Right.
Just really fast. The tattoo said, "Death is certain, life is not."
Oh, that makes that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. Okay. Let's. Okay. Why don't we? Because I do want to talk about this. Let's talk about the theory of the Sandman. Because you were telling me how you were doing some research and you haven't been able to find any sort of Reddit thread or whatever that talks about the Sandman.
No, yeah, no one's talking about the Sandman, and Snoop Dogg plays a character named Blue. He's a wheelchair-bound drug dealer who sells crack. And through his advanced interrogation techniques, Alonzo finds out that he's working for a guy named Sandman. And from the information that is given to Alonzo, he said that the Sandman is goes by the name of something or other, and he's given an address of where the Sandman is supposedly located. Now the thing is, we technically don't know who was on the other line. We're just given the name of Bob, but who the hell knows who that is? And the fact is, so there's no he's not actually. We don't even know if he's talking to actual policemen, if he's talking to just one of his contacts, what have you. So he just goes to this random house, and that's supposedly the Sandman's home, because the Sandman is supposed to be in prison. He ends up grabbing money out of one of the bedrooms in this house, and and then they end up getting into a altercation with the gang members in that area, and they go to what are known as the Three Wise Men, which are corrupt police officials, and he is able to acquire an actual warrant to enter into. We're assuming that maybe it's for something with the Sandman. We don't really know, but he's given an address of where he gets a warrant. He's going to serve it at this place. Turns out the place that they're going back to is Roger's house, which is supposedly his friend and mentor. So
here's an interesting thing that I don't know if you noticed, but after he goes visit the wise men and then he gets the warrant and he rounds up his posse. I don't know if this is a inconsistency. I don't know if there's an inconsistency in the story, but Alonzo does say, "Oh, we got the warrant thanks to the Sandman." And so I'm thinking, or what I'm thinking is, because our theory is that the Sandman is Roger.
Yeah, that's our theory.
Alonzo's friend and possibly former, or most likely former narcotics agent. But at the meeting on the rooftop with the rest of the team, he does say, "Oh, we got the warrant thanks to the Sandman." And I'm thinking, because if Roger's a Sandman, then that means he's active again, even though he's supposed to be retired, not just as a narcotics officer, but also as a drug dealer.
Right. And okay, yeah. So I do remember that now that you're mentioning it. But
Yeah.
so that was our theory, is that no, the Sandman wasn't just some other person they're going after. It's actually Roger. And the reason, yes, Alonzo and Roger are friends, but he's always talking about the big whale, the big fish. and Rod, the Sandman is someone that is a huge fish. Like that's a target. And for a while, it appeared that he was, kind of retired and getting ready to get out of Dodge. All right, cool. Like, and as soon as he hears that, he is, I'm sure he suspected that he was on, doing business again.
Mm-hmm.
And we're kind of given that illusion when Roger gets that call in his house.
Right.
And the fact that Blue talks about like that it's the Sandman that he works for. So, and since Alonzo knows that Roger is the Sandman, he knows who he is and he knows his secrets. He's like, all right, when he left him alone, but as soon as like he found out that he was in business again, it's like all bets are off. Like I'm getting mine, and that's where we get the actual heist.
Right. Because that scene where he goes to to talk to the three wise men, and that's just the code that he uses to describe three like higher ups within like either the Los Angeles City government or the LAPD. But he talks about how well, first, like the wise men talk about Alonzo's troubles because I guess he was in Vegas and he killed a Russian mob associate, and so like the Russians are out for his blood, but they gave him time to like, hey, if you give us money, then we'll call off the hit, and so this whole movie is like we think is basically like his attempt to like scrounge enough money and save his life. But and so his visit to the wise men is basically getting permission to take out Roger, aka Sandman, because through Snoop Dogg's character, it's been revealed that he's active again, and so like now he's fair game, and so the wise men give their blessing, and and issue the warrant. To go in and basically steal from Roger, aka Sandman.
Yeah, and it's funny because none of the Reddit threads I've seen, none of the YouTube videos I watched, none of it talks about like actually there's no actual even discussion about the Sandman whatsoever.
Mm-hmm.
And I think this is one of those hidden like fan theories as like I think Roger was the Sandman. And
Mm-hmm.
and Alonzo, well, although yes he is very corrupt, I think he's still like he is being real in the fact that like he does go after the big scores, the big fish,
Mm-hmm.
to take them off the street. Because I think the 1 ounce of truth that he did say is like I watched that guy, deal with
deal to
act
kids.
without 10 years dealing to kids and whatnot, and I think that did bug him a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
But like as far as like but he blurred the line so much. It's like we'll never know.
Mm-hmm.
it's
Yeah.
like
It's kind of like the in literature it's called or like even in I think in law it's called the what is it, unreliable narrator.
yeah.
And so, like, all the stuff that Alonzo says, it should be highly, scrutinized, and you should be dubious of.
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, like there was a lot of like Ethan Hawke and Denzel Washington really played off each other really well. The chemistry was great between those two characters. And the other thing that we don't realize too is that at the end of the film when Jake pulls up to his house, this is all happening during the same day. He has the money and stuff with him that he took from Alonzo, making me think that he's kind of becoming Alonzo-like in his own sense. Because if it was, I think, in my thinking is maybe because he thought like, okay, well, the wise men, these are the higher ups that he has to deal with anyways,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that it's like, where am I going to go with this? Like, it's because Alonso talks about, it's like, it's not what you know, it's what you can prove.
Mhm.
And really, Jake has no proof of much of anything else. I mean, Alonso's
Right.
crew's not going to help him. The wise men aren't going to help him. So maybe he figures, like, I'm just going to keep the money. And I think he,
Or
in a
maybe
way,
he's
became
gonna keep the money as kind of kind of like sort of Damocles over their heads,
that could be too.
right? And so that's why, and that way he can like kind of transfer back to like his post in the valley and just like be like the regular beat cop, and so so like the crew and so Alonzo's team and also the wise men don't like bother him. It's like, hey, I got this evidence right here, this is my evidence. You want to go, you want to, he kind of, so he could kind of like turn it on them. It's like, this is my evidence. You want to go home or you want to go to jail?
That could be the case. I actually think he's becoming a type of Alonzo himself, where he's not as corrupt, but like that's kind of like, this is his first step into
Possibly. I mean, because we're kind of meant to think that he does kind of go unscathed, because it's not him that kills Alonzo, but then it's also because at the end, the quote unquote villagers kind of rebel against the king, and the gang member is the one that holds the gun on Alonzo, so Jake could like walk out of there.
Yeah, and they kick him out of that community.
Yeah, so he the king is basically dethroned, but then like Jake doesn't have the stain of the sin, basically the stain of sin of like killing Alonzo, so like he could keep his soul essentially. And that's what I took away from that last scene. But also, I also thought it was very poetic when Alonzo was threatening Jake, by kind of like describing his death in the way that a news anchor or news reporter might, retell or relay the information. But and at the end, when Alonzo died, that's how you hear the voiceover of like a news anchor or reporter talking about Alonzo in a similar fashion.
Yeah.
Like, oh, a narcotics officer was murdered while serving a very high high risk warrant. He survived by his wife and 4 sons, and that was like the same kind of threat that Alonzo was giving to Jake when he wouldn't kill Roger.
Yeah, that's right. It was kind of poetic justice in a way.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that's kind of like our big like fan theory, is that the Sandman was actually Roger. We might, and here's the thing, is we might actually get some more information about that, because there's news that came out this month that they are talking about doing a Training Day prequel, talking about Alonzo's younger days as a narcotics officer. So we might learn more about Roger and like what exactly happened to him.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that'll be interesting.
Word.
Any other last minute thoughts, Andy, about the film?
No, I'm I'm just glad that we got to talk about the Sandman theory, because because I like you, I was kind of looking it up because I was interested about for some reason the Sandman, like this time around when I was watching it, the Sandman really like stuck out to me, and it seemed like one of those like kind of like those loose threads that the filmmakers leave. But I was like, well, maybe it's not a loose thread. And so I started to think about it. I was really starting to think about the movie and everything that they show us, because we can only go off of what they showed us. And so and then it got me thinking. I was like, what if Roger's the Sandman?
Yeah, well, and like once, because you're the one that kind of like brought that up, and then I watched it. I watched it a couple more times after that, kind of specifically like looking for those clues.
Mm-hmm.
And I actually think that is the actual truth. I think I think you were right in doing that. And then once looking up that information, no one's talking about that either. So I think this is actually our original fan theory that we've created for Film Training Day.
Yeah. So we're
Circle-
contributing to the zeitgeist.
Patent pending.
Yeah, patent pending. This is Circular Jerks Nocturnal Transmission's original theory on Training Day.
November 19th, 2019. So
Right.
anything you hear
Yeah.
after this about Sandman, it's
and hey, writers, of the prequel movie, hey, if you need some help, we're available.
yeah.
All right, let's get into let's give our rating, and let's wrap this bitch up.
You go first, Andy.
All right, I'm gonna give this a 4.
Ooh, you're gonna give it a 4, really?
I'm gonna give
Okay.
it a 4.
Well, what's your reasoning behind the 4?
4. I mean, I'm they're. It's funny because a lot of times, when I review stuff or when I ding a movie, is purely for like technical reasons. And in this, I guess this is no different. Some of the editing was a little weird for me. As much as I enjoyed the story, I do kind of see some elements as kind of plot holes, or maybe like they that they these were like kind of like thematic like loose ends that they never really tied in, and then so our theories are basically our own like conjecture and and suppositions, as opposed to like being able to be taken from like direct evidence. So so I'm kind of dinging them on that, even though I still really like this movie. These are just like technical things.
I'm going a little bit higher than you. I'm giving it a 4.5.
Okay.
I think, like I said, some of those same like edits that you're talking about. Yeah, it is. There's times where it's like I feel like we're missing something at this point, or
Right.
something was cut out that we maybe needed. But what I thought was, like I said, the dialogue is a masterpiece. I think Denzel won the Oscar for this, didn't he? Like he won an Oscar for best. Deservedly so. Something else that was cool is like it was the majority of the film was filmed locally within Los Angeles in these gang infested territories, and which was kind of a big deal at the time, like because these were
I read into it, and like I think a lot of it was pushed from like Denzel as well, that it was important that in reality a lot of the filming locations were gang territories and just like high violence, high crime areas, but not just Denzel, but then also the people in the communities wanted to be a part of this. And so, like, they had neighborhood council meetings, and it's like, yes, we want you to film here. We promise, we'll make it, it'll be safe. And yeah, it was really a community effort, which I appreciate.
Right. So it was, so I thought that was kind of like really cool that they did something like that. It wasn't just some sound studio that they were filming it. But it was actually,
or a nicer neighborhood dressed down to play, the crime-ridden areas.
It wasn't like the Universal backlot, like with Wisteria Lane style. No, it was actually in the heart of really the gritty LA, which is.
I mean, not to ding them too much, but like in the literal heart of darkness of LA.
Yeah. So that's why I give some points on that. But yeah, this is just a masterpiece of dialogue. I mean, it's not really a ton of action, but it's all about like the the dialogue and
it's all about the psychology of
And I felt like Alonzo Harris was messing with my mind, not just Jake Hoyt, because you're always questioning like, is he telling the truth here? Is he being is he where is the truth? Where is the lie? And you're always like trying to figure that out throughout the film. So 4.5 for me.
4.5. All right. Well, there you have it. That's our review of Training Day. I give it a 4. Robert gives it a 4.5. Definitely, Circle of Jerks, recommends. So check it out for yourself. leave us a comment. Let us know what you think tell us what you think of our theory about the Sandman, and if you think that you think it's a viable theory.
Yeah.
All right, that's our show for tonight. I hope you enjoyed it. I had a good time, Robert.
Oh, always.
Always. So don't forget to check us out every Tuesday, sometimes live at 8 o'clock ish Pacific Standard. Don't forget to check out the library of other shows. You got the Circle of Jerks main podcast, Nocturnal Transmissions, of course, and Robert's gaming show, Up by Up Down. If you're into the old school NES, 8-bit gaming. Don't forget to follow us on our social media accounts: Twitter at PodcastCOJ and Instagram at Circle of Jerks Podcast. And be on the lookout for our, what was that app called? Letterbox?
LetterBoxD.
LetterboxE?
D.
LetterboxD. We'll be likely creating an account relatively soon.
Yeah, I'll set up an account for us.
All right, cool. All right, that'll do it for us tonight. Join us next week, and we'll see you next time. All right, don't do anything I would.